You're watching the Power Hour, and I'm your host, DJ Larry Jones. Today, we're unlocking the secrets to achieving your goals and manifesting your dreams. From setting intentions to taking action, we'll guide you on a path to turning your vision into reality. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Teresa Lear Levine. Teresa, how are you?
I'm doing great, Larry. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. First off, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
I appreciated the invitation.
Absolutely. Now, we're talking about manifesting your dreams. I mean, a lot of people feel like, when you're manifesting something, whether it's financially or, whatever the case may be, that you don't have to do the work. All you have to do is think it and believe in your heart and it will happen. That's not the case.
That's
Okay.
that's very true. Yes, you are correct there. That is not the case. There's a lot more to it than that. And I think maybe one of the first things to do is to kind of take the woo out of the word manifest, which literally
Right.
just means to make something come into your physical reality. So while we can have as much fun with it and we can bring as much of that woo energy into it as we want to, there's really a formula there to follow and steps in order to have those things show up for you in your life. So we have to bring intention
Right.
into it. We have to bring action into it. I know, like from what you're saying, it would be lovely if we could just think about something and
And
have it appear.
yeah, and it just happens, right?
But I mean, when we get our vibrational alignment really fine tuned, it can almost seem that easy.
Right.
But for most of us, we are not high vibing it a lot of the time. We are getting drugged down by, like before we started recording, we're talking about the hurricane and all these natural
Yeah.
disasters, and like just life in general
Life
can kind
happens.
of
Yeah.
weigh on our vibration and make it a little bit harder to vibrate at the level of what we want to achieve. And that's when
Right.
we make that match. That's when the manifestation happens, is when we are basically already living energetically within the wish fulfilled.
Right. Right. Now, what role does the subconscious mind play in achieving your
Oh,
goals?
a huge one. Like our subconscious mind, think of like the biggest Google Drive that you've never seen because
Right.
it doesn't exist. That is our subconscious. So from the time that we're born, it's recording everything. Even if we don't consciously remember things that happened, they've all been recorded. And from those early years in our life, like let's say like 10 and under, we're these sponges. Whatever's happening with our family of origin or the people that raised us, whatever's happening in our world, we're absorbing it all like it's fact. We're creating beliefs from these things that are happening around us. And that conditioning, that programming is more powerful than anything conscious we can do to override it. So we
Mm.
can be consciously aware that we have limiting beliefs about, manifesting these dreams, these goals, making things happen, becoming uber successful or whatever the case may be. And yet, if the conditioning and programming that is in our subconscious contradicts that, it will win every time.
Yeah.
So, rewriting that narrative is imperative to being able to move from where you are now to where you want to be.
But that can be pretty tough, though, right? I mean, trying to change what's been instilled in us for years and years, or does positive affirmation, can that help override that?
Ah, so I mean, it could be difficult. It could be difficult if we tried to keep doing it from our conscious mind
Right.
because we can't do it from there. So that would feel really difficult and heavy. But when we can tap into the subconscious with modalities like I love to use, such as hypnotherapy, it's actually quite easy.
Mm.
And with affirmations, I see that there's definitely places where people can make progress, but all too often I have seen people who are going for big goals
Right.
really traumatize themselves with
Mhm.
affirmations. Like, let's say you're trying to, move from a certain income goal into a much bigger income goal, and you're trying to affirm that, I am a millionaire or what have you. And
Right.
yet your bank account is telling you a very different story, and there's this gap that is just too big for the affirmation to close, and it usually creates this kind of backlash that brings out more self-doubt and more of you kind of trying to prove like, no, that's not the case, that's you're not a millionaire, than it does affirming it. So what I prefer instead are positive questions. Noah St. John is made a business out of affirmations, which is essentially like questions for the mind, or these positive subconscious questions. So instead of affirming, I am a millionaire, perhaps you would be affirming, what would it take for me to be earning the money to be a millionaire?
Finding out how to do the work, right?
Basically, but so when you ask a question, our brain responds to questions. Our brain doesn't respond to statements. So, and I am is how all affirmations start for the most part. So instead, by making it a question, the brain, the subconscious, will look for those answers all day long, even while you sleep. So I always teach my clients and anybody in my communities to find 5 to 10 good, positive, subconscious questions that you can ask yourself in really positive energy every morning when you wake up or every night before you go to sleep. And for the rest of that, 24-hour cycle, your subconscious is going to be looking for answers. It's kind of like that whole, like you shop for a car and you shop for a red car, and then all of a sudden all you see everywhere is red cars. Before that, you never saw them. When you put a question out there like that and you put your intention and focus on it in question form, then your brain finds all those red car answers for you all day.
Right. Now, hypnotherapy. Talk to me about hypnotherapy and how does it work?
Okay, so we have different levels of brain waves and things that are happening. And the level for which we're in hypnosis is one that we pass through naturally at least twice a day. So as we're falling asleep every night, as we're waking up every morning, we find ourselves in that trance-like state. And that's also why I mentioned that doing those subconscious questions first thing in the morning or right before you're falling asleep at night is really powerful, because you can take advantage of that. But with hypnosis, and like when I'm working with clients in hypnotherapy, I am helping to induce that trance-like state for them. And then from there, we get to tap into what the subconscious mind has to say about things instead of the conscious mind. So often when I'm working with people, we get to regress to different scenes, places, events, and time that have everything to do with whatever the issue is that they came to work with me on. And it's never the things that they would expect. Like if they came to work on confidence, they might be able to consciously tell me different times in their life when they knew that their confidence was challenged. But these unusual and different scenes that come up when in a state of hypnosis are always kind of surprising to them. It's like, wow, I never would have thought that was a root cause reason for why I feel less confident than I would like to. And then from there, we can kind of unravel those things a little bit more, figure out why those things actually are not who you are today, rewrite the narrative. And then I love to, in hypnosis, create these like beautiful audios, these transformative audios that basically speak into existence the reality that the client would like to be stepping into. And they play those for a few weeks' time, and that repetition while in trance state reprograms the subconscious mind, reprograms that Google Drive.
Interesting. Now, how does meditation help align, your subconscious with your goals? Does meditation play a huge role?
Meditation can be important. I have a love-hate relationship with meditation because I am an ADHD entrepreneurial mom. And for me, every time I tried to do traditional meditation, and I think this happens for anybody, your mind starts to wander, you bring it back. That kind of is meditation in and of itself, is the bringing back your mind to.
It's so hard to stay focused on
the nothingness. Right. But I think that's why I fell in love with modalities like emotional freedom techniques, or you might know that as tapping, because it's active meditation. So it has the same benefits, the same stress lowering, the same stress hormones going down and things, but you get to actively be tapping on something, talking, kind of working through things. You can even, I do it while I'm walking around my neighborhood sometimes, and getting that kind of relief. But I mean, I think that anything like that, that is kind of clearing your mind and bringing you into a greater state of inner peace, allows you to get more into that rest and digest, that parasympathetic state of the nervous system. So that's the whole thing with working with the nervous system, like with EFT tapping and things, is that it's not just about regulation. Like, it's about creating a sense of safety. And then with that sense of safety created, then you can go deeper to another level that didn't quite feel safe, and kind of clean that out, and create safety and familiarity in places where you didn't have it before. So things like meditation allow us perspective, a little bit of logic, some added rationality, so that we can approach things a little bit differently instead of being reactive.
Right. Now, for people who may not be familiar with tapping, and I've just learned of it not too long ago, and it works, it really works like a charm. Explain to them what tapping is.
Yeah, so it's otherwise known as EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's been around for longer than most people realize, since like the early 90s, and it's based on things that have been practiced, some for centuries, things that trace back to ancient Chinese medicine, that have been around for thousands of years. So it's based in the idea that we have these different meridian endpoints all over our bodies. If you've ever had acupuncture, a deep tissue massage, something like that, they're going to be going to these endpoints in the meridians where, when they press on them, put a needle into them, what have you, energy is released. And the cause of any dis-ease in your life, whether that's a physical pain or an emotional pain, or even things that stem from beliefs, or other limitations that are causing you to have difficulty manifesting those goals, to kind of tie back into that, is an energetic blockage. So this is also why two people could experience something traumatic, and one person can be fine afterwards, and the other person can have, PTSD, or can be just really bothered by the memory or the energy of what happened. There becomes this blockage where the energy does not flow through their system the same way it did the person who is not bothered by it the way that they were. So when we tap, we concentrate on the negative feeling or the bothersome memory or whatever it is that we're working on, and we tap on these 9 major points. So we have the side of the hand, the top of the head, the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the nose, under the mouth, the collarbone area, and under the arm.
Right.
We have many more meridian endpoints than that, but Gary Craig, who is the founder of EFT, realized that we only need those 9 points to energetically overhaul basically anything we might work on. Very gentle, very non-traumatizing. It is one of the main methods gone to for PTSD. So for PTSD, sorry, that didn't get out quite right, to help with that, because there's no re-traumatization from using it. So we focus on the thing that's bothering us, we're tapping these points, and we're talking about it. But unlike talk therapy, this method goes right to the amygdala, that little almond-shaped part of your brain that's in charge of fight, flight, flee, fawn, flop, all the different F's that mess everything up for us, and it calms it down. So you go out of that fight or flight state, and you become in a more regulated state, different perspective, different way of understanding things, and you start dissolving those energetic blockages. And from there, you start to feel differently about whatever it is that you were tapping on. You start to open up to possibility, and ultimately you start to show up differently in your own life because of these little ways that you're working on these things, which can add up to some really big differences.
Wow. It really works. Now, when I came across your social media page, I said, well, she has the cheat code to life. I mean, you have the cheat code. I mean, people need to follow you. If they want to follow you, tell them where can they follow you at?
Yeah, I'm most active social media wise on Instagram at Teresa Lear Levine. And from there, you can find a great link in my bio with, I think the best place, honestly, to interact with me is my free community on Skool, which is Skool. It's spelled a little differently, but I have an amazing community there with over $15,000 worth of free resources and free weekly coaching every week of the year. And that's the best place if you're looking to understand your subconscious mind and regulate your nervous system. You just go to www.skool.com/discovery and then type in my name, Teresa Lear Levine, and you will see the Becoming More Me community pop up, and you can join it right from there.
There you go, Teresa Lear Levine. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. It's been a pleasure having you on. You're watching the Power Hour.
Thanks for having me.